Charleston, South Carolina. It has more than 350 years of history, and with that, the largest historic district in the United States. You'll find more buildings on the National Historic Register here than most places in America. It's one of the most beautifully preserved architectural and historical treasures in the U.S. Everything from the churches and cobblestones to the iron gates and front steps have a story to tell. It was the first permanent European settlement in Carolina and the most important city in the southern United States well into the 19th century. Let's take a drive through town and learn some more about its extensive history. The city was originally founded in the spring of 1670 by English colonists who sailed into a harbor of two rivers named the Cooper and Ashley. They had a dream to turn the area into a royal port town, and they named it Charlestown, yes, 2 words, after King Charles II. As the town grew, the expanding settlement recognized the advantages of relocating across the river, so in 1672 they moved to the peninsula called Oyster Point. Walls were built, making it the only walled city in British North America. Within just 10 years, colonists from all over Europe and other areas were heading to Charlestown. It quickly became a thriving town and port, but not everything was a walk in the park, however, as Charlestown was frequently attacked by land and by sea, and once even by the infamous Blackbeard himself. Even as a young town, it had the reputation of being called a Little London in the New World. As the hub of Atlantic trade for the southern colonies, Charleston was the largest and wealthiest city south of Philadelphia and soon became the 4th largest colony and most critical port in North America. While Charleston is proud and rightfully so of many things, the slave trade is a stain on its history. Nearly 40% of all enslaved Africans brought to North America after being taken from their homelands came through this city. Ironically, Charlestown gained the nickname the Holy City because of its religious tolerance and diversity. The Second Charter guaranteed religious freedom, and with that it brought a variety of churches. Today you'll find countless beautiful church steeples decorating the skyline, and to this day no building can exceed the height of the tallest church steeples in town. The city flourished during much of the 18th century with many additions including Drayton Hall, Middleton Place House, St. Michael's Episcopal Church, the Wayward Washington House, and the Old Exchange and Provost Dungeon, which represents the last British building built on American soil. The first recorded performance of an American opera occurred, and the St. Cecilia Society was founded in 1762. The College of Charleston was founded in 1770, and the nation's first museum, the Charleston Museum, was founded in 1773. By the time of the Revolutionary War, it was the 4th largest city in America, and it became a focal point during the American Revolution. It would have been a great prize had the British attack against it succeeded. Several battles happened in the late 1700s, even leading to the British capturing it in 1780. They were forced to withdraw on December 14, 1782, and in 1783, Charlestown was reborn as Charleston. The land on the southeastern side of the peninsula was developed and came to be known as the Battery. Charleston had ceased being the capital of South Carolina in 1786, but state offices were still in the city, and in 1791, George Washington toured the states and came to Charleston, where he slept in the Hayward Washington House and entertained at the Old Exchange Building. The Citadel opened in Charleston in 1843. The city was the scene of the split Democratic Convention in April 1860, as well as the Secession Convention in December that took South Carolina out of the Union. Fort Sumter was the last hold of federal troops in the area. In April 1861, it became the site of the beginning of the Civil War when Southern forces bombarded it. In June 1862, federal troops began their only attempt to capture Charleston when the Battle of Secessionville occurred. Though President Abraham Lincoln's history-changing order was announced 2 years prior, the Emancipation Proclamation was read in Charleston on March 21st as the climax to a 2.5-mile parade with thousands of newly freed African Americans in attendance. The war in Charleston came to an end officially on April 14, 1865, when the Union flag was raised over Fort Sumter on the 4th anniversary of its surrender. Following the Civil War, Charlestonians were too poor to remodel, so the city simply adapted her old buildings. In 1886, a major earthquake rocked Charleston, resulting in 110 deaths and 2,000 buildings damaged. In the late 19th century, Charleston was in decline economically, and the population growth also slowed down. Relative to other American cities, it was much less important at this time. World War I was the start of its recovery. In 1901, the Navy base located north of the city became headquarters of the 6th Naval District. Thousands of servicemen and workers moved in, and with that, it started to get back on track. By the early 1900s, Charleston was once again a cultural center. In 1901, the South Carolina Interstate and West Indian Exposition was brought to Charleston, and in the 1920s, the Charleston Renaissance was formed. Preservation efforts were secured by the 1940s, allowing Charleston to revamp her old buildings to retain their charm, distinction, and tradition. The city's past is a testament to the spirit and tenacity of its citizens. Its appeal has been described as a living museum. As Charleston native Elizabeth O'Neill Verner once said, "It is impossible for me to enter Charleston from any side, whether by land or by sea, and not feel that here the land is precious. Here is a place worth keeping."